Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence. We go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun.
All right, guys. Today's date, October 13th, 2021, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan on How the Frack We Got Here. We do take the events of the week and try to make sense of it all. Before I do get started, guys, I want to let you know that we are trying to be a family-friendly podcast, which means that our language will sometimes be a little bit limited, although words will fly, and sometimes we may show things that might be too intense for young viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So, what can we go ahead and talk about on this fine, wonderful October 13th type of day? Well, let's talk about Oregon and the reason that they actually are running into a substitute teacher issue where they actually were running out of teachers. So, what Oregon has decided to do was change its rule on substitute teacher license rules, which in other words, for all those that are wondering in the world of education to be an educator, you have to have at least a bachelor's degree. Well, in Oregon, they are changing that. They actually have announced that the Oregon Teacher, Students, and Practice Commission, that's a mouthful, has announced a new rule temporarily dropping the bachelor's degree requirement to become licensed in some cases. That just tells you how bad things are right now, job-wise. I mean, it's not just affecting all areas. If there's anything this pandemic has shown us, that a lot of jobs, unfortunately, will not be coming back. But in the world of education, especially in public education, that is also becoming an issue as well, because the reason why these teachers, while Oregon, along with another state we'll be talking about very shortly, is running short on teachers is because, well, like everybody else during this pandemic, we've all come to the same very conclusion. That, again, that a lot of people are kind of raising up. They're kind of going, we're not going to be dealing with this. We don't have to deal with this. So, of course, like a lot of people always sit there and say about the kids and fast food jobs, things of that nature, why don't you find a better job? Well, a lot of people have. And then even so, more than educators found better paying jobs, more than likely at private academies and private schools, which definitely pay their teachers a lot more than public school does. And nothing wrong with that, except that the public school system suffers to the point to where now, where you have people in Oregon that are actually considering implementing this rule just to actually keep some sort of activity going on in the classroom. That just says a lot to me. Number one, for the simple fact of the matter is, you are not addressing the problem. And I know today's podcast is going to have a somewhat theme around this, because it's literally do better. I'm like, if we truly do pay people, especially in such professions as being an educator, if we really pay them to where they can do their job and not have to worry about overhead bills, taking on side jobs, or taking on additional part-times or even sometimes full-time jobs, then they wouldn't leave. A lot of people, they get this notion in their heads that's like, well, in order for us to succeed, we have to have poor people. No, that is a Reaganomics way of thinking. When realistically, if you go back in history, the most productive times of the U.S. was when the middle and lower classes actually got tax breaks and incentives, and the top % actually paid their fair share. Look it up. I can easily find it. It's a 5-second Google search will tell you the same informational page I did. That literally came from Harvard University, where they did an economic study over the decades. And again, we seem to repeat ourselves as far as history goes. Not only with Oregon, but also with Florida too, because Florida is also facing a shortage. More than 5,000 teachers. And what are they saying? The pandemic and low pay are to blame. Again, this is Florida. You know, it's in a lockdown knockout fight with Texas over the hold my beer belt. Which again, they sat there and said there are more than 4,000 openings for other school staff positions, according to their educator association president. Think about that. the fact that you have that in Florida, probably one of the biggest school systems in the nation, arguably with California, Texas, and New York, that 5,000 openings for educators, which goes to say a lot that, again, the public school system is failing. Why? Pandemic and pay. Teachers have never been paid what they should have been paid from Jump Street. And again, I hate to say this because this is going to become a recurring theme, not just through the pandemic, but the fact that we are seeing a workers' revolution, if you will. That, again, and another story I'm going to be talking about very soon, where the simple fact of the matter is that people are starting to walk away from jobs that are just simply not worth it. That are simply not worth it because of the pay. And I've been telling folks, I said Bernie Sanders might as well be called Nostradamus at this point. Because, number one, he said a long time in a tweet, when the pandemic first started looking like it wasn't going to be an over the night fix, he sat there and said that we, as a nation, need to pay every U.S. citizen $2,000 a month until the pandemic is passed. Now, think about this for a second. If you had $2,000 a month during this pandemic, it would change a lot of people's lives. We're already seeing what happens with the child care tax credit. We're already seeing that with single women and parents of couples who have children. That child care tax credit is a godsend to them right now. And even when people were getting that pandemic assistance on top of their unemployment, when they were getting it, again, it was helpful. What have we learned? If we actually pay people to stay at home and be safe and allow them to still pay bills, because bills don't stop regardless if it's a pandemic or not, if we pay those people, life goes on and even improves. But yet when we take it away from them, stagnates. Shopping cuts down. Consumer spending goes down. And at the same time, jobs. Because a lot of people sat there and realized during this pandemic was like, I'm killing myself at McDonald's, or I'm killing myself at a retail store, or I'm busting my ass here for what? Just so corporations and companies and millionaires and billionaires can still become richer while the working class becomes poorer? And a lot of people are like, no. But then again, it's always interesting where some of those folks that have this mindset, if you don't like it, go out there and get a skill and change your life. And it's amazing to me that a lot of people who also tell that to those folks are surprised when they're sitting at a McDonald's fast food line at 10 o'clock at night because of short staff. And the people that did come to McDonald's do not care about you being in line for almost over 2 hours or 3. I mean, even here in my home city of Nashville, I can whenever I usually leave the gym late at night and I pass by those fast food joints, lines around the block. Well, some of them. McDonald's and Waffle House. And even Waffle House isn't 24 hours anymore. Staffing is so bad. The idea of something being open 24/7 is almost a fleeting dream. Walmart's not even open 24/7 anymore, if that tells you anything. Why? Staffing. People want to be paid and be compensated fairly. It's that simple. But companies, we can't pay them. What about raising the minimum wage? That will kill jobs. No, it won't. The thing about it is, and I said this is the myth. The myth behind this is that if we pay people, and a lot of people have this in their mind, so a person that flips burgers and makes my food should be paid as high as $20 an hour. Yes. Because here's the thing. You sit there and say you trust somebody to make your food that you ordered, that you paid for, that you see their job as anybody can do it. When in reality, almost every job out there anybody can do. It's not it's not based on gender, binary, color, or intelligence levels, things like that. Because again, with enough training and time, anybody can do anybody's job. There is no specialties out there where a certain group of people can do it. That's just being honest. So, to sit there and degrade fast food of the service industry, like you degrade the service industry to me. You're degrading the service and hospitality industry because it's like, you shouldn't get paid this. Yes, you should get paid this. Why? The cost of living has gone up. Everything else has gone up. Your bills have gone up. Gas has gone up. Your utilities have gone up. Every food costs are still going up. Everything's going up but your paycheck. And every year, individuals get hit the hardest. Couples get hit as well. But you know who's not getting hit that much? Those same people you read in the Panama Papers. Those rich individuals. I almost cussed myself out on this. But that's the reason why, going back all of this, that raising the minimum wage matters. Raising the pay matters. That's why you see companies out here who are actually doing right and raising rates. I mean, granted, Bank of America is raising their pay to their starting pay to $43,000, which is a little bit over $21 an hour. They mean to be by $25 an hour by 2025. So what does that tell you? That if you want workers, you're going to have to pay. It's just that freaking simple. And the argument that a lot of people make is that, well, if I suffered, then y'all should suffer because I went through it and I came out better. It's a very, very poor mindset to have, honestly. To sit there and say, well, I suffered through it. It's like like student loans. If you're able to pay back your student loans, bravo. But there's a reason why less kids are going to college, because they don't want to take on debt that the banks will easily give them for a maybe at a higher life. I'm just saying, most kids these days will be like, no, I'll go learn a trade, which is fine. But trade jobs aren't really being promoted in schools anyway, which tells you a lot. Now, I got nothing against trade jobs. I kind of wish I was told about that when I was going through high school. I probably would have got that as a backup. I would have loved to learn auto mechanics or plumbing or electrician or be a lineman. Trust me, those jobs pay dividends, but they don't get endorsed as much. Because everybody keeps on saying, if you want a great job, go to college. But at the same time, trade jobs are always needed because the work is always there. But going back to what I said though, a lot of people are waking up and leaving their jobs because, number one, the pay isn't worth the effort. You can't ask for corporate loyalty effort and you poorly pay them. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, going back to the stories before I went off my little rant, you don't believe that we don't need something as critical race theory, which again, critical race theory is not being taught in schools. It is a law school class. However, after this next story I'm about to play, maybe we should reconsider that.
For them to be doing that for a song that's just not in their language was so disappointing to see.
As a DJ played a song in Spanish at Marist High School's homecoming dance on Saturday, some students are seen kneeling, even booing, as others danced around them.
I feel like we were really disrespected.
Elizabeth Pacheco filmed the short video. She says the students kneeled in protest to the song as they made negative comments about Mexicans.
I feel betrayed by the peers that I've grown up with.
Today, nearly 24 students walked out of their lunch period to protest their classmates' actions. After school, a rally outside, some saying this isn't an isolated incident.
I've been here for 4 years, and we are constantly getting mocked, and I'm tired.
This school is not cheap. I don't pay money to come here to be racially discriminated.
In 2016, several students were suspended after racist text messages surfaced following the police-involved shooting death of Joshua Beal in Mount Greenwood. In 2017, school leadership sat down with NBC5, telling us they hired a consultant to conduct focus groups to address the problem. Today, an interview wasn't granted, but a statement posted to the school's Facebook page reads, in part, "We respect and foster diversity, equity, and inclusion for all, and want every student to succeed by feeling valued, seen, and connected. Marist is fully investigating the events and will address them as appropriate."
What we want is a formal apology.
Crazy, isn't it? That because one Spanish song was played, certain Mayo people didn't like it and decided to take a knee. I never understood that. You take a knee, so you were the same. I said, I guarantee your parents are probably the same parents that looked at Colin Kaepernick when he took a knee and said, "Oh, he's disrespecting the flag." Yet your offspring aren't taking a knee during a dance for a Spanish song? First and foremost, let me tell you, Latino music is jumping. I may not know all the words, but it's got a beat and you can dance to it. And have you ever been to one of their parties? Matter of fact, weddings? Jump it! It is all inclusive. They don't make anybody feel weird. And if you don't know how to dance, they certainly will teach you. Speak from experience on this. They will teach you until your legs are jelly, because that is a workout. But again, I always had fun. I'm a musical guy. You know, it doesn't matter if I don't know words or not. If it's got a good beat and I can dance to it and I'm grooving with it, I'm living with it. Just because it's an embracing of other cultures. However, it's always interesting where one case where you see like this in Chicago at a private school, mind you, that there's this mentality of just, well, if it's different from me, it's not for me. And I thought to myself, this is the reason I wish we would consider, well, not only bringing civics and actually teaching civics and dropping social studies, but at the same time, we need to introduce a version of critical race theory into schools. Why? To stop that behavior. To stop the idea of the intolerant, of just sitting there and just saying, well, that's not my list, that's not my music, so I'm going to protest it. That's what we need to stop. And honestly, I feel bad for those students there because, again, it is quite apparent that there is a specific nature of things over there and that needs to be addressed properly. But that's just me, because you're going to wind up finding some parents going to say, well, I didn't see nothing wrong with what they did. They protested just like Colin Kaepernick did. Yeah, there's a problem. One was about injustice. One was an injustice of law enforcement or minorities. The other ones were just being dicks. Big difference. But anyway, next two stories I got, guys, I wanted to cover this because they were both following. The reason why I say law enforcement could use a lot of defunding and reteaching and getting actual people in there and actually educate individuals. Why? To avoid situations like this. Like the first one I'm going to bring up. Where again, explain to me why a cop kicking a person's head while they're down and handcuffed was really, above all else, number one, not stopped, and number two, if it was filmed, we would never see it.
I know, nobody
cares what you do anymore. You understand that?
Lean back.
Nobody cares what you do anymore.
Lean back.
How the f am I gonna lean back with the f you hold my belt?
Look,
You're not gonna do this,
right? We're not gonna do this, right?
Stop. You're done. You're done. You're done.
Are we done now?
Roll over. You're done.
I can't.
Roll over.
I can't.
You're done.
There you go.
You're done. There you go. There you go. Done.
Well. We're not going to do this, right?
We're
Stop.
done. You're done. You're done. You're done.
Are we done now?
Roll over. You're done.
I'm upset. It hurts me to see any of our officers treat someone the way that you're going to see here shortly. No excuse for it.
There you go. There you go. Done.
Police brutality.
Crazy, isn't it? Kicked in the head. And all you can say, you're done. You're done. And I just wanted to ask myself the entire time, you could have de-escalated that. Because the whole time everybody's like, well, he was confronting. No, that would have been a perfect time for the officer to de-escalate. As I've been saying, again, law enforcement, it just seems to have this issue of de-escalation. They would choose force and authority over trying to de-escalate the situation. Why? Because again, we've seen where black men in law enforcement, and whenever those two collide, there's usually a death, or I like to call it a murder. But again, in that situation, that could have been avoided. And possibly not only could have avoided that man getting kicked in his head, but now that officer is now suspended. And his chief of police is recommending for him to be terminated. So again, tell me why we shouldn't be looking into this. But we would have had our George Floyd police reform bill passed if it wasn't for the raccoon of the Republican community, Tim Scott, did his job and killed the bill. Even more so, there was another story that came out about a paraplegic that wouldn't get out the car because police got him on suspicion of leaving a drug house. Keep in mind, suspicion.
In Ohio, a black paraplegic man has filed a complaint with the NAACP against the Dayton Police Department over an encounter captured on an officer's body camera. The video shows police pulling 39-year-old Clifford Owensby by his hair and arms after they say he refused their help getting out of the car. CNN's Laura Jarrett joins us now. Laura, walk us through what happened here.
John, it's another disturbing traffic stop. This one started late last month in Ohio, as you mentioned, after police claimed they saw Clifford Owensby leave what they suspected was a house for drug dealing. Now, the officers stopped his car, and authorities have now released roughly 12 minutes of body cam footage that captures this encounter. The audio makes it difficult to hear at times, but take a look at this.
Get him out of your car. Get him out of your car. I can't step out the car, sir. But you got to leave you. I got help getting out. Well, I'll help you getting out. I'm gonna help you getting out. Get out. Excuse me. I'm gonna help you getting out. Get out. Well, I don't think that's gonna happen, sir. I don't think that's gonna happen, sir. I do. I'm asking you, but I'm telling you. So it's not an option. Can I ask you what's the problem? Yeah, the problem is that
Not going to happen because he can't move his legs. The officer then explains Owensby can't be in the car when a narcotics canine dog sniffs the vehicle. Owensby repeatedly asks for the officer to call a supervisor to the scene.
I can't get out of the vehicle, sir. I'm going to assist you out of it. As someone assists you getting the vehicle. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not going to touch me. And I'm definitely not about to touch me. And I'm about to go ahead and get somebody on the line. Because I will. It will be a lawsuit if you put your hands on me for no reason, bro.
Things are already getting tense, and then they escalate.
Can you come down the street to Ferguson and Grand? The police just pulled me over and they trying to make me get out the car, and I'm telling them I'm a paraplegic. I can't get out the car without no help. And these motherfuckers trying to they on some bullshit. Just come down the street, bring some people with cameras. You're getting out of the car. That's not an option. You're getting out of this car. So you can cooperate and get out of the car, or I'll drag you out of the car. You see your two options here?
All right, and then as you see here, the officers pull Owensby out of the car.
I know I'm paraplegic, bro. You can hurt me. You can hurt me, bro. Get out of the car. What are y'all doing, bro? You're making me. I'm a paraplegic, bro. I'm trying to tell you that I got help getting in the car. Y'all can hurt me. They can hurt me. Get out of the car. Damn, bro. I'm a paraplegic. Ow. You have to get out of the car. Ow. 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 Get out of the car. Somebody help. Somebody help. Something right here. Somebody help. Stop. Somebody help. Stop. Stop. Someone help. Stop. So are y'all recording this? Stop. Somebody help. I'm a paraplegic. Stop. They are doing the hurt things to me. Somebody please help me.
Worth noting here, as you hear him screaming as all this is happening, a 3-year-old child was actually in the car at the time. A police report shows Owensby was charged with obstructing official business and resisting arrest, both misdemeanors for what you just saw. The department said the police retrieved a bag with about $22,000 of cash from the car. Owensby says that's his savings, and he points out there were no drugs found in the car and he wasn't charged with any drug-related offenses. The department, for its part, says the Bureau of its professional standards is now investigating this. Meanwhile, Owensby is accusing this department of profiling, unlawful arrest, illegal search and seizure, and failure to read him his rights before taking him to jail. CNN has reached out to James Willis, his attorney, for comment. John, a lot of questions on this one.
That is very difficult.
So again, I asked the question. So a man saying he's paraplegic, he can't get out of the car, okay? And the officer kept on saying, "We need you out." He kept on asking why. He says, "We need you out the car." And as you saw, it escalated to the point to where they forcefully made their way in and drug him out the car. He drug a paraplegic man out of a car with only suspicion that the location that he was in was a suspected drug house, and the fact that he had $20,000 on him, which again, people carry money on them. People carry money on them all the time. So it's the fact that it's profiling, because it's like, well, why do you have $20K on you? What's it to you? It's my money. What's it to you? So it is amazing to me that not only did they find no drugs, you found him with $20K, and possibly and there was a 3-year-old also in the car with them. Again, officers could have avoided all of this if there was de-escalation. So again, I'm going to point this out, guys. This is the exact reason why I sit there and say for the longest time, the best way that officers can be retrained is they need to be educated. Like as I've been saying, you do realize, I have been saying this the longest time, you have to train, you actually have to study and train longer as a hairstylist, plumber, electrician, contractor, and about 85 different other careers. You have to train longer than a year. Police officer, 6 to 8 months. Tennessee, it's 6 months. 6 months in the academy. That's it. 6 months, you're protect and serve. But again, the problem with law enforcement is they're militarized. They are militarized. They are taught forceful tactics. They're not taught to be aware of special needs. They're not taught negotiation skills. They are not taught de-escalation skills. They are not taught to assess a situation and let it stop getting to that red line point, because most officers will be like, you know what, I got a badge, I'm going to yell, I've got backup, I've got a gun, you're going to do what I want you to do. And at the same time, I said before, there are some police out there that are going to be preying on your ignorance of the law. For example, you can unless the officer can visibly see things in your car that give him probable cause, you don't got to let him search your car. Can I search your car? What for? Well, I suspect, because the whole thing about it was he was in front of a suspected house for drugs. Not that he had any drugs on him, he just happened to be in the vicinity. And at the same time, it escalated for no reason. No reason at all. So the officers will face discipline. Will they be fired? Probably not. Will they be disciplined? Slap on the wrist. Will that man sue? Almost indefinitely, yes. And I can't blame him for that. Why? Because he was basically profiled. Because I always say it best, it's amazing that we see guys all the time, carry around bags of money. Nobody questions it. A black man carries around a black man has a large amount of money on him. He has to be doing something illegal. That's profiling. And that's alone what officers do all the time. But moving right along, guys, I wanted to cover this next story because if you're a Southwest customer, it's a sign of the times that because what's going on in the job market, it's also affecting your flights. It affected a whole bunch of people because Southwest canceled quite the number of flights as of yesterday.
Southwest Airlines is only starting to emerge from a weekend of widespread delays, stranding thousands of passengers nationwide. The carrier canceled 800 flights on Saturday, 1,100 flights on Sunday, and another 360 flights on Monday.
There's no explanation for this problem. So I suspect that Southwest isn't being totally honest with us.
We've been worrying about it for the past 24 hours. Literally couldn't even sleep last night, really, just because we didn't know what was going to happen.
I started looking through and there's just nothing for like the next few days. Just really anxious to get home now.
Customers are helpless.
Anthony Scott was stranded overnight in Baltimore when Southwest canceled his flight home to Birmingham. The airline blamed compounding problems, first caused by air traffic control and weather issues dating back to Friday.
That's a hard story to believe.
In an internal memo, Southwest apologized to employees, saying an unexpected number of delays led to a staffing shortage, with workers and planes scattered out of position. The airline acknowledged in some cases, flight crews were left without hotel rooms.
I think meltdown is a good word.
Captain Casey Murray heads the union representing Southwest pilots, which said the airline has become brittle and subject to massive failures under the slightest pressure. Data shows Southwest has 7,000 fewer workers than it had before the pandemic.
We want to see Southwest not continue to make the same failures that we've seen for a few years now, but especially over the summer and this past weekend.
Southwest insists it has an aggressive hiring plan, but that is not enough for the passengers who reported hours-long hold times trying to get through to customer service. Anthony Scott says he was a longtime customer, but is now left with a Southwest credit to use.
I'm not sure that I would. This is a very frustrating experience.
Southwest.
I mean, I already have a hard enough time flying, but again, that just goes to show you, it's amazing that they try to blame it on weather conditions. It has nothing to do with the fact that you have a shortage of pilots and staff to actually keep these planes in the air and moving. Which, that's the truth. It has nothing to do with weather conditions, because a lot of people aren't going to believe it. You're going to tell me extreme weather conditions are the reason why so many flights are canceled? No. Staffing. I have been saying this, folks, that this goes back to this kind of theme I have for this, is that people are leaving jobs that aren't taking care of them. You can bust your tail at your job, but if your job is not getting you what you need for you to survive, or for you to at least get by on, they're going to find something new. And that's exactly what's happening right now. People are going out and finding new things. And all you can sit there and say is, it affects us all. And again, with Southwest, I mean, don't get me wrong about Southwest. When I did fly them, they were nice. I just didn't even know. I'm a guy that just doesn't really fly that well. So I try to limit my flying as much as humanly possible. Just I'm a terrible flyer. Not that I freak out and scream, we're all gonna die. It's just that, being up in the air in turbulence, even though in those small air pockets, I ain't gonna lie, it's just, that's all I'm saying. But anyway, moving right along, it does go into the focal point of, guys, what I was talking about today, about Americans quitting their jobs at record paces. The Labor Department came out and said that quits have jumped to 4.3 million in August, the highest on records dating back to December 2000, and up from 4 million in July. That's nearly 3% of the workforce. Which now the number of jobs have fell to 10.4 million from a record of high of 11.1 million the previous month. So currently, as it stands, folks, there are 10.4 million jobs available. Now, I have tried to, guys, tell y'all this, 10.4 million as of today. 10.4 million jobs available. And I have been saying this about the pandemic and how everything works. I have been saying it. Folks have woken up. It is a workers' market now. Especially, like I said before, one or two people quit, that's fine. Because it used to be, the old saying was, if you don't like your job, somebody else will come in and gladly work it and be thankful for it. Now, it's hard to do that. And anywhere you go, there's help wanted signs. There's job wanted signs. But here's the thing. I have been saying this a long time ago, especially when I was job hunting. I used to look at salaries. I still believe that if you don't tell me your salary as far as what you're hiring for, 9 times out of 10, unless it's with a company I want to work for, I won't apply. Why? Because if you don't mention the salary, chances are it's low. Or chances are you're going to all in there good and talking, oh yeah, the position's really good and whatnot. Okay, but the pay is going to be slightly less than what you're probably looking for. I've done it on many jobs. I've done it on many job interviews where everything was cool and stuff until we got down to brass tacks, and then he's like, oh, or they're like, oh, well, the pay is not going to be what your compensation is. And I would raise up, shake their hand, say thank you kindly, but my expertise is not negotiable. My education is not negotiable. So if you're requiring my expertise and my education, then that pay is going to have to be up there with that, because my pay is not negotiable. And it's amazing it's amazing, like I said before, these people out here, we're short-staffed because nobody wants to work. I heavily disagree. Everybody wants to work. We're just tired of working for these crappy wages. If you know you pay crappy, you have a year. Here's how you know. If you have a company where you know the pay is crappy, you have plenty of openings, especially now. If you have a job that pays good, it'll be very hard for anybody that wants to leave, and chances are you're probably hiring 1 or 2 people at a time, if that. I always say the best. It's the reason why Walmart has full. It's the reason why Walmart's applications will always be gathering dust, and Costco can't build enough stores. It's the reason why I sit there and say you can be mad at Amazon all you want to, but Amazon is paying people $18 and up. Despite their practices, despite how they're just a humongous meat grinder for a lot of people, they do pay $18 and up. Most places, especially here in Nashville, don't do that because they like the fact of paying their employees. Because they always stand and say, well, companies can't afford to pay their workers more. If you have not figured out in your grand business plan that in order for your company to survive, that you pay workers what they should be paying, if you haven't figured that out, don't be a business. Don't start a company. Because it's easy to sit there and say you want to follow your dreams or go or work, or you are your own, or better yet, where you are your own person. Be that. Because the simple fact of the matter, you can't sit there and say above all else, well, if we pay people what they want to be paid, and it's not like and here's the thing, it's not like you're asking for something astronomical. You're not asking for anything astronomical. I've said it best. If minimum wage followed the productivity in this country, the minimum wage right now would be somewhere between $24 to $26 an hour. And what I just say, Bank of America, by about 4 years from now, their starting wages will be $25 an hour. Now, again, if only the minimum wage we currently had right now was at least $23 an hour. And again, I have been saying this, guys, if you paid people enough, if you pay people at least what they need to be to live comfortably, because I said before, to live here in Nashville, currently, you would have to have a salary. No, when I say comfortably, because a lot of people get this messed up when I say this, to live comfortably, to live comfortable in Nashville, you have to make at least $70,000 a year. Comfortable. That's basically a 3-bedroom house, 2 cars for a family. That your salary would have to be $70,000 a year. The average median income right now in Middle Tennessee is less than $55,000. That dropped from last year. So what does that tell me? That tells me that probably more than half of Middle Tennessee salaries can be anywhere from $42,000 to $56,000 a year. Which tells me that at the bat, there's a very small percentage of people making well above $60,000 a year. Small. And as the numbers get higher, that percentage gets smaller. But again, you can't. But again, they always just say the wage gap isn't a problem. Math don't lie. Pay people. Simple as that. Pay people and they come back to work. Don't pay people. They're just tired of dealing with it. Okay. So, with that being said, guys, I do want to move on to our last two stories before we get to our feel good segment. Again, I did talk about this story last week where I said Flint, Michigan is not the only town dealing with water issues, and more is coming to the surface about Michigan because now Benton Harbor is now becoming the next Flint.
Just 3 hours from Flint, another Michigan city facing an urgent water crisis.
Smell like fish or something.
The contamination coming from old lead pipes. Had you been drinking and cooking with the water before then? I had no idea. The state says it's known about the elevated lead levels for 3 years and that residents had access to the information. But many residents say neither the city nor the state did enough to warn them of the dangers. When did you learn that there was lead in the water?
Last week. I've been drinking the water, cooking with the water, brushing my teeth.
2 weeks ago, the state started distributing bottled water to residents after a petition was filed last month detailing the problem to the EPA.
The state of Michigan would not have responded to this crisis if it hadn't been for the petition from EPA.
How do you know that?
Because years had gone by where nothing had happened.
Hundreds of people have been waiting hours, lines stretched across several blocks. For some, this is their only hope at fresh drinking water.
This community cannot afford to buy water. I'm horrified. I cannot believe for 1 second
that a city, a state, or the federal government will allow children to continue to drink this water.
But the state agency responsible for oversight of the water supply says they've been addressing the lead levels all along.
Steps were taken as soon as the elevated levels were recorded to work on that corrosion control and get that in place. Corrosion control takes time. We are seeing elevated numbers, but we're also seeing in general an improvement overall.
A community fearful and worried about their health. The state and the EPA have allocated millions of dollars to fix the pipes here, but officials say that's a process that could take years.
Sound familiar? Lead lines in pipes. People have just found out. But the state said, oh, they've always been informed. Really? You've been informed? Imagine if... I always find it funny where the state covers their ass and tries to sit there and say, well, residents have been informed. Not really. Have you seen the look on people's faces? I've drank this water. I've bathed in this water. I've cooked with this water. And at the same time, it's in the same bowl. It's in the same area as Flint, Michigan. Again, this lead line pipes, things of that nature. It all goes back to what I said. Remember I said, I keep on saying this on every podcast. Remember how I say America's infrastructure is failing? Not just bridges and roads and tunnels. Pipes. Which had to be replaced sometime. Those pipes that are installed do not run forever. Eventually they do have to be dug up and replaced with better ones. And lead line pipes, especially with water going through them, will eventually corrode. So I would say more than just the state of Michigan, the Michigan government, the Michigan state government, as well as the EPA, and as far as those environmental people that are over that stuff, has to be held accountable. Because 3 years you've been knowing about this, and now residents are just finding out. Here's the thing: if residents really if residents really were being informed, why is there now a major push for water bottle services to be put out to them? That's number one. Number two, at the same time, it's just like Flint, Michigan all over again. It's like that is more than just negligence. That's criminal, because you had to know. You had to know that this was going to come to this. But we will follow that story as it comes along. But the last story I got before we get to our Feel Good News segment. The king of the raccoons, Daniel Cameron, is back. You know, the same person who they brought in that's related to Mitch McConnell that just sat there and said the Brenda Taylor case didn't need to happen. Well, he's now asking the Supreme Court to now be able to defend abortion, to actually go after abortion in Kentucky. I can't make this up.
News Justice correspondent Pete Williams now. He's been following Kentucky's abortion case. Pete, first off, earlier today, the Supreme Court heard arguments on why Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron should be able to defend the state's law. Can you take us inside the courtroom? What happened and what was the reasoning behind this?
So both the Texas case that you've been talking about and the Kentucky case have this in common. Neither one of them is really about abortion. Although that is the issue at the heart of the case. The Texas lawsuit is all about whether a state can fashion a law that takes its hands off and let other people carry it out. And the Kentucky case is about whether an attorney general who, after his office declined to defend the law, can come in at the late stage and say he wants now to take part in, now that it's in the federal appeals courts. The word abortion was mentioned only once during the 70-minute Supreme Court argument that just ended. And it did seem that perhaps a slim majority of the Supreme Court is likely to give David Cameron, the Republican Attorney General in Kentucky, a chance to try to defend this law now that it's in the Court of Appeals. The ACLU, representing the only licensed abortion clinic in Kentucky, said that the Attorney General had his chance, and the Attorney General's office bowed out and let another state official carry on the case and now can't come back in and try to get involved at this late stage. That's what the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled, and that's what the ACLU says the Supreme Court should rule as well. But it did seem like the Supreme Court was concerned that perhaps the change in the political makeup of Kentucky maybe gave the Attorney General a new reason to try to intervene.
All right. NBC's Pete Williams is there in Washington, D.C.
I tried to tell y'all. Texas opened up the floodgate. All the states now, especially in southern states, they're the ones that are trying this right now. And I have been saying it. That, again, a woman's body is her choice and her consequences are entirely her own. What a woman decides to do with her body is not going to affect me. I'm still going to sleep well at night. It's amazing, again, how a room of men are dictating this. Even more so, the Supreme Court, which, again, guys, I warned about the Supreme Court. Once it went right and it became conservative, that all of this was going to come back up. I'm surprised we haven't went back to Brown versus Board of Education yet. I'm waiting for that one. I mean, Roe versus Wade, sure, because conservatives have in their head that unborn babies need to be defended. But I would love to see what they do about Brown versus the Board of Education. Let's see what they do with that. Because you don't think that's not going to come up? I mean, yeah, it sounds extreme. It does. But keep in mind, we also said the same thing about Roe versus Wade ever being challenged. But that's before we actually had a Supreme Court that was actually evenly divided, not overly conservative. I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there because I feel like that's heading that way. But before we do get out of here, guys, we actually have a feel-good segment because usually on How the Frack We Got Here, we usually cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom. Sometimes make you lose your faith in humanity, but hey, it's Wednesday. We want to, get you into Friday Eve, which is Thursday, and try to put you in a good mood. Try to get you to get some good vibes, some good feelings, and what better way to do that than the thing that I love to do every night? Not that, you perverts, but working out. And again, in this case, I always say it best, if you can find different avenues to just relax, de-stress, and really help your body to be healthy, then this story is definitely for you.
Changing the lives of countless women. They walk in a bit uncertain about themselves, and they walk out confident and fit. Anthony Antoine introduces us to Body by Maria in today's Acts of Kindness.
Ready, set, go!
In this gym,
1,
the body you want
2, keep your head up!
is on the other side of hard work.
3!
It's a philosophy Maria Jones,
right here with our weight,
lives by.
I was overweight and depressed. So I just wanted to better myself.
She started working out and the change was almost instant.
Women were noticing that I was much more happier at work and I was losing weight. And so I said, hey, come join the team. Come work out with me. Come walk with me.
That commitment to her health blossomed into a new career as a personal trainer and business owner.
2, 3, 4.
Going from 215 pounds to 130.
We know here we can be ourselves and we don't get judged. We work out, we make friends, we kind of inspire each other.
Carmen Candelario is on her own fitness journey.
I came in at 181 pounds. I couldn't even jog or walk fast. I am now running 4 miles.
Woo! How you feel?
Candelario says she contemplated getting plastic surgery, but Maria showed her that a healthier life is possible.
Everyone is getting surgery. Women are starting to look a different way. And when you get to a certain age, you start thinking about, should I do the same thing? But here at Body by Maria, we know that we can work out and we can lose the weight and get ourselves the way we want to.
It's so many women that want to alter their body. All they need to do is take one step at a time.
Carmen's first steps has her on the path to success, and she wanted to tell Maria thank you by nominating her for the NBC 12 Acts of Kindness.
This is, I nominated you.
Oh my God!
Acts of Kindness, changing our lives.
Oh my God! Carmen! Oh my God, thank you!
Because you're always changing our lives, but $50 gift certificate from Mexico restaurant.
Okay. I guess I'm gonna eat some beans, all right.
This space is more than just a gym. It's a space for these women to come together and shed their insecurities along with the weight.
We don't let any one of us fall. Like if somebody's running behind, we'll grab them and be like, come on, we can do this together.
On your side, Anthony Antoine.
Looking good, ladies!
NBC 12.
I thought that was pretty cool. As a person that, I didn't start working out until almost 7 years ago. And trust me, I do understand the benefits of it because, like I always said before, you want to be around, health is wealth and all that good stuff. But nothing beats actually bench pressing 300. Especially, I'm sorry, humble bragging. Anyway, That's going to do it for us, guys. Thank you all for watching, for liking, for letting people know that this is uploaded as this is pre-recorded. So I definitely want to know you guys' comments as if you're watching this. Before I do get out here, I do some shameless plugging. Let me tell you for a second about my buddy, Big VZA. Which you can definitely find him, on the Weatherspoon on Facebook, Big VZA on socials, where he usually does have his smoking trailer Sundays, every Sunday from 6:30 to 9 p.m. He also has the RAF, which is like America's Funniest Home Videos, except done by WorldStar, every Tuesday from 6:30 to 9 p.m. He also has a video game trailer called Making Plays, which is usually live on Facebook, but definitely check him out. The Bond Witherspoon on Facebook, Big VZA on all socials. Also, shout out to Ari and Geek Salad. Also, you can find them on Facebook and YouTube as well, as they do some dope content as far as in the world of geeks and nerds and fandom and things of that nature. And also Delta Kings Fitness as well, that you can also find us also on Facebook and on IG. And finally, as for me, the link at the bottom, you copy and paste that into your browser, will take you to my link tree for the podcast for all of my shows. How the Frack We Got Here, as we're recording, watching right now, Get Bit, and of course, Helpfulness Podcast, which you can always find there. And also, like, share, and subscribe. It actually helps us out to reach out to people, let them know what I'm doing. And if you like my way of giving the news, then I would certainly appreciate it. Before I do get out of here, guys, again, if you haven't got the shot, please get the shot. Please sign yourself up for boosters when they become available. Please wear a mask when you're going out, because, like I said, the only way we're going to get these COVID numbers down and to ease our woes for our medical brothers and sisters, those doctors and nurses and those that work in the hospitals, help them out by protecting yourself. When you protect yourself, you protect others, and that's what we should be doing from Jump Street. Now, the last thing I'll say about How the Frack We Got Here, it's all about staying informed. We're not trying to change minds or trying to persuade you. We are simply doing what the news stations of old used to do. Give you all the information, allow you to make your own mind up. Make your own mind up. We do a lot better as a society once we're informed. We actually try to change laws. We're progressive. We try to right the wrongs of our history and try to do things that we should have done a long time ago. Like elect our first Madam Vice President who was black. Still hope for Michelle Obama and her husband in 2024. That's all I'm saying. That being said, guys, if you like this, please let me know. If you didn't like it, still want to know. And if you're watching this on playback, please comment if this is live. I still want to know you guys' opinions on everything we talked about. Usual, guys, please take care of yourselves and each other, and we will get through this. Peace.